Hello and welcome to Model Kit Stuff, and welcome to part 2 in our build of Amati's Endeavour. And in this part we're going to tackle figure 22, which is on page 22 of our build manual, and we're going to build up the cradle. And the reason we want to do that is that we've got somewhere to put our hull in when we're working on it. So what you're going to need is you're going to need the plywood that had the rudder in it, and that's got our last two pieces in, and you're going to need this, which is 6mm dowel part 67 on your parts list, and it's basically the only dowel that fits in there, so it's easy to identify. So you're going to need two pieces of dowel, so we're going to have to cut this in half in the first instance, so that we've got our two pieces of dowel, and we need to remove these. So let's start by removing our parts from the frame. So we're cutting part way through the tab as best we can. It's quite thick plywood, this. It's just pulled the blade out of my knife. Let's tighten that up. There we go. Heard the tab go. I'm going to go in on the other side, and that should finish the job. Yeah. There we go. So that we can get rid of, or if you want, you can keep hold of it in case we need some scrap material during the build. I'll probably keep hold of mine because you just never know. Right, with the parts removed, we need to tidy them up. So with a flat file, we're going to take our tabs off. Same process as in episode 1. We're making sure that we're getting nice and flat, but we're not making it uneven. Okay, that will do. Now, what we're doing here is we're building this up so that it's workable. We will deal with making it pretty and usable as a final display stand towards the back end of the video series. But for now, what we need to do is to get this functioning. So we need to cut this in half as our next job. So the first thing we need to do is measure the dowel and roughly cut it in half. And my dowel is just under 45 centimeters, so at 22 and a half we can mark that off and cut that roughly into half. We'll adjust it once we've fitted it to the hull. So all we need to do now is just saw that point. Okay, so we now have two dowels of pretty much equal length. And what we need to do is thread those into our base. There we go. Now if you make sure the dowel is sticking all the way through, that just gives it a little bit of stability. There we go. And then the next thing we need to do is actually put our hull onto it. Now the narrow bit where tapered near the rudder is going into this deep slot, and the V is supporting further towards the bow. So I'll extend them fairly long. So I'm going to put it in just before the rudder. Right, and that is sitting too low. So we want this to sit flat. So I'm moving that in. Okay, and that's sort of right, I think. And we can check that with a small spirit level if you've got one. So I'm going to just put that on there and see what that's looking like, and that's not flat. So if we leave that there, we need to bring that in even more. So what I'm doing is I keep bringing the front support in a little bit until I get to a point where I'm happy that this is holding the boat level. Which appears to be there. Right, so that's roughly how wide we want it. So what I'm going to do is I'm going to just push these dowels so that we've only got a short end. And I've lined that up with my grid, and I'm just going to mark off those dowel points there and there. That just move forward. They're a bit loose, so right. So what we've got now is the two dowels with points marked off, and what I want to do is just smooth off these edges, and then we're going to glue these in. So I'm just going to get the ends nice and level. There we go. I mean, it's such a quick job, there's no point getting my sander out. But there you go. That'll do for now. So the next thing we need to do is to glue these in, and for that we're going to need some wood glue. So I always recommend using aliphatic resin wood glue. It's very, very strong, stronger than ordinary wood glues. Don't go buying the stuff from a hardware store. Get the stuff that's designed for building models. So this is by Deluxe Material, but you can get it under different brands. It doesn't have to be this brand. And what we're going to do is we're going to put some in those holes, if I can open it. There we go. Seems to be a little bit stuck. That sometimes happens. The glue dries in the nozzle. So just putting some glue in the bottom of the hole like so. And then what we're going to do is where we marked the line, we're going to get that up to the edge on the outside. So I'm just twisting the dowel as it goes in to sort of spread that glue a little bit. And then we're pushing it through, find my pencil line, and there we go. It's actually quite a loose fit. We do the same on this one. Find my wood line, okay. So I'm going to leave that to dry, and then we'll come back and adjust this. But while this is drying, it would be ideal if we've got it at least in these holes, just to make sure it's drying and it's not we're not going to have a funny angle on the poles. So we've got it in, we can let that dry, then we can adjust this one and glue that in and then cut the ends off. So yet again, we don't throw away these dowels. They can come in very handy for all sorts of things. So we'll keep those. We can put them to one side right now. And we have these cut to length. And we've marked off where the support needs to be. So just pulling them out a little bit, put a little bit of glue on them. And then as we push the supports in, that just drags it into the hole a bit for us. There we go. And again, we'll get this nice and square with the other one, like so. It's just using the grid to make sure it's nice and square. Don't think that's going to stand up on its own, so we'll give it a little bit of support from this bottle of glue. Okay, perfect. Right, we'll let that dry and harden, which we'll perhaps give it half an hour, which allows me to tidy up my desk, and then we'll come back and just do the last finishing bits, which allows us to put our ship's hull, boat's hull, on the cradle. Okay, the glue is now dried on our build jig. Now what we're going to do with this, later on in the build, we will take this apart. So it doesn't need to be perfect. You can see it's not perfect. We're going to take this apart and I'm going to show you how to represent this so that it fits better to the model and you can use it as a permanent display stand and make it a bit more presentable. But right now, this will do for building with, but we do want to make sure we don't put any scratches onto the hull. The instructions have recommended a bit of foam, but actually what we can do as a temporary fix before we do the permanent stand is we can just cover these with a bit of masking tape. So I'm actually using some offcuts of tape from a project that don't have any paint on and don't have any debris or anything on, so it doesn't need to look pretty, it's just functional. So just cover the surfaces that are going to come into contact with the hull with a bit of masking tape, like that. And that'll be enough. That will do us. If you're really worried about it, you can put a paper towel in or a piece of cloth for the hull to sit on. And then a bit later on in the build, when we know that we're not going to be moving the ship around too much and we've perhaps only got rigging and things left to do, we'll look at representing this. So we'll take it apart. I'll show you how to undo the glue and take it apart, strip the glue off, and then we'll tidy it up, paint it up and represent it. So I'm using some offcuts of masking tape. Obviously any form of sort of soft tape will do. The beauty of using the modelling tape is it's low tack, and so you're not going to have a problem by removing it. So don't put anything like duct tape or something like that on, because that will give you a problem when you want to remove it, and then you've got to clean up residue and you're just making even more work for yourself later on. So yeah, there we go. So that completes our second episode and figure 22 for now. So in our next episode, we will be tackling figure 2, which is inserting the false deck, and we'll keep each episode to each step in the build instructions. So the length of the videos is going to vary depending on the complexity of the step. So this step will be a short video, and then this step will be a considerably longer video. So it all depends on what's involved in the step. So yeah, next time we will fit the false deck. We've got a couple of things in addition to the instructions that we've got to do. So I'm looking forward to that. I'm looking forward to seeing you in the next episode. In the meantime, you enjoy your modelling. Hi, and thanks for watching. You can support the channel by hitting the like button. And if you haven't subscribed, please consider the subscribe button and the notifications bell so you don't miss any content that I put out. Model Kit Stuff is a self-funded channel, and I don't do membership or Patreon or buy me a coffee. So if you'd like to further donate to the channel and ensure the cameras keep rolling and the content keeps coming, then you can consider making a donation through my PayPal. You'll find a link to that in the text below. You enjoy your modelling, and I'll see you soon.